All right, good day. Welcome back to the Freducation podcast. I'm Fred, and today I'm here with Jarvis Witherspoon, Jarvis the Realtor. Jarvis, good to have you. Thanks for coming on today.
Hey, no problem, Fred. Thank you for having me.
So tell us a little about your background. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up? What was growing up like for you, Jarvis?
Uh, Typical um single family household. I mean, I knew my pops, but we really didn't connect, right? My mom was a single mother. She had multiple jobs. Like at one point she had like three, four jobs. So yeah, that's upbringing. So I learned to be real independent early. I had my first job at like 14. I was
Wow.
a sign holder for Quiznos. Like I didn't even have a job permit yet, but they were like, "Well, you can hold the sign." I said, "Give it to me." So, rode my bike to work. So I've always been from that day till now. I've been working. So from high school, played basketball, football. High school went into the military. Did 5 years in the Navy. Toured all over the world. Been to Dubai, United Emirates, Persian Gulf. I was stationed in Japan for 2 years where I met my wife. We got married, had a kid. She's 9 now. We've been
Wow.
married almost 10 years. Fast track out of the Navy 2011, moved to Arizona 2012, 2013, and been here since.
All
Wait.
right.
Yeah, yeah,
Cool.
that's
And here
that's
is Arizona, correct?
yeah, and I'm a realtor now.
Yeah. Cool.
So I skipped that part. After I got out the Navy, I did some IT work because that was
Okay.
my IT job. In the military, I was an IT specialist. So I worked for Intel for like 3 years,
Cool.
and another job at NXP in semiconductor world, and then eventually I utilized my VA loan to enter into the investment world. I bought my first house, now have tenants in it, and then eventually I wanted to learn more about the game, so I got my license, and this is the first step to me, becoming way more familiar with real estate and building my legacy. So yeah, that's me.
Cool. All right. You covered a lot there. I wanna just
I'm
jump back to
sorry, bro.
one
I'm a
thing. No, I
talker.
love it. So, well, did you grow up in Arizona? Is that where you are from?
So no, I'm from North Carolina.
Okay.
So Arizona is definitely new to me. The reason why I
Yeah.
moved here is because when I got out the Navy, I was like 20, 21. I had a wife and a kid. I didn't know what to
Yeah.
do. I said, "Ma, where you at?" My mother was in Arizona. She's a
Okay.
VP at General Motors. So I wanted my daughter to be raised in a semi, at least as close enough family oriented
Yeah.
situation as I could. So I moved to Arizona so my mom could be a grandmother. And
Cool.
yeah, well, she's a grandmother regardless, but so that
Yeah.
she can be an active one.
Yeah.
So yeah, moved here and haven't moved since, brother. I've been here for about 7 years now. It's crazy.
That's cool. All right. And what prompted you to join the Navy? Was it something you were fired up about, or was it like this is an opportunity that's going to get me where I want to go, or how did that happen?
So, for all purposes, I grew up in a very small town.
Yeah.
You either play sports or in my community, you either play sports or you did some stuff that was illegal. So I
Yeah.
didn't want to do those things because I realized at a young age that a lot of my older uncles, family members were either locked up or dealing with a lot of issues with, being the man in society that can thrive. Because doing certain things can put you out of the running to be a successful person.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to eliminate my stand or hinder me from moving forward by making some of the same mistakes the people I grew up with. So the other
That's
only options I had was football. I was good at football, so I had a D2 scholarship, but it
okay.
wasn't D1. So me having a big head, I'm like, well, if I ain't going all the way, then I'm not going. The
Yeah.
next option was the military. It was some chick I was talking to at that time, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm joining." And I'm like, "She could do it. I definitely could do it." So, uh, so I took the ASVAB, man, and what got me in is that I scored pretty high. to the
Cool.
point where they gave me a IT clearance. I had top secret.
Oh,
So that sold me. They're like, oh, you're going to be great. And you're going to have something to do when you get out the military. And of course, I didn't have no scholarships. You know, like I said, my mom was single mom, so I didn't want to pressure her with, college bills. So
yeah,
Navy was going to pay me first day in, and they're going to pay for my school. And it was easy. It was an easy decision. I actually joined at 17. Like my mom had to sign me over
right.
because I
Wow.
wasn't old enough to join by myself.
So you had the like self-awareness at a young age to realize like you kind of had some men in your life that were non-examples to realize like that's not the road I'm going. Did somebody like speak that into you, or did you just kind of say, nope, that's not for me? Like how did you get to the point where you're like these aren't going to be the role models for me?
Well, growing up, they were, because that's
Yeah.
all I
Yeah.
knew.
Yeah.
But as you get older in high school, you realize you look in the football stands and you don't see them, and it hurts. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, man, everybody else's pops or uncles is there, but none of mine are there. So then I realized, if I wanted to really be a better person in general,
Yeah.
then I can't do those same things. So, and it all started with me being hurt. Like they wasn't around. I didn't have nobody to look up to except for my mother and people at church. So I wanted to be different, and I didn't want no one to hurt how I heard it,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. So
Yes.
I knew I was gonna have a kid. I knew I was gonna, do those things. So I wanted to prepare myself as best as I could. Initially, it was just helping my mom. She couldn't pay for college. I couldn't pay for college, so it was just like really the only option that I had other than streets.
Yes.
So that's
That's
what I did, man.
props to you, man. I heard one of the guys I listened to on a podcast. He has a powerful quote, and he says, "You know, you get two shots at the father son or father child relationship. You know, one you don't get to choose, but then on the second time around, you get to be the father either that you had or that you wanted to have." And so,
Right,
props to
right.
you, man, for taking that route.
Yeah, Fred. What about you, man? I know I'm getting interviewed, but let me ask you something. What's up with you? I mean, give me your background. I
Yeah,
guess your followers know, but I'm just talking
Yeah,
to you.
man, I grew up. I was born in Michigan, but I don't claim it 'cause I lived there for 3 months. So I grew up in the Tampa
Okay,
Bay
okay,
area,
okay.
and yeah, my parents were great, man. They were around. They did a really good. My parents both came from. My dad was one of eight. My mom was one of
Oh,
four, so they came from big families,
yeah, yeah,
and it
yeah,
was just me and my sister growing up. So I think but they were the first ones to really like make it in their family in the sense of like being successful. So I grew up. To me, sports was life. I was playing tennis. I was playing baseball, and like you, man, I was in 12th grade, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna go. And when I actually got like a half scholarship to play D1 tennis, and it wasn't enough, and it was like I can either pay a lot to go out of state and play, at a D1 school, or
yeah,
I got an academic scholarship to stay here. And so the big thing in my life, man, in high school, I got really involved. I had a guy who invited me to come to an organization called Young Life, and I started following Jesus, man, and that was in 11th grade. And so throughout the rest of high school and college, I got really involved in ministry and volunteering and that. I had some really good teachers in my last year or two of high school, and I wanted to get into serving. And so all through college, I was a volunteer. I studied education and became a teacher. And man, it was a blast. It was a wild ride, that whole experience. But it kind of, I had this, I guess, moment during COVID when I was teaching. I've been teaching for 10 years. I was kind of on the back end of my teaching career, and I'm staying at home teaching during COVID. There's a substitute teacher in my classroom, and every day you're preparing these lessons online. And I was like, man, I'm preparing like lessons for 200 students that live within, 5 miles of my house, whatever. It would take me the same amount of effort to make the same content for 2 million people. And, because it's online. And so
yeah.
that's kind of what led me to looking into learning about how to do things digitally, and kind of leverage. I taught computer classes, so that's kind of what that brought that to the forefront, was now kind of playing this game of figuring out, all right, what can I do with these skills and these talents, and shifting the mindset of like poverty is piety, and feeling like, oh, if wealth is wickedness, like if I make a lot of money. I think the way the economy changed in the last few years, and my wife and I have a 4 year old, and we support my wife's mom, is like everything's getting more expensive every year, but I'm not making more money every year. And so, like figuring out, well, what skills it take to do it, and learning that. So that's kind of the zoomed out vision for me, but still learning every day, man, figuring out what that looks like. Um,
Amen, brother. Amen.
so
I can attest to being in church at a young age.
yeah,
I played on the band at my church.
cool.
So we used to have band practice. We used to
Yeah,
have youth meetings.
cool.
I remember at one point we had a class, a period of, like, they gave you a purity ring, and you
Yeah,
basically
yeah,
made a promise to God that
yeah,
you wouldn't, have any intercourses till you got married and everything. So, hey man, that's great, brother. That's great. And
yeah.
then, like, at any point, having that relationship with God and Jesus is definitely like, it's like a magic trick, or it's like a superhero ability, right? Because without that, who knows where we would be. So
It
that's
gives you
great,
that
bro.
longer term perspective, man. Things aren't just about this moment. Um, and it gives you kind of also something to look at. Like, this is my guide, this is my direction. Instead of, most of the world's taught you just live for me. Let me
Yeah,
do me. Let me figure out what's best for me. And
yeah,
it's not fulfill. Even if you figure out you're successful in it, it's not as fulfilling as going out and serving. Um,
right.
so
Definitely, definitely.
how'd you get into real estate? Like, you left the Navy, and then you mentioned you were working semiconductors. What led you to the real estate world?
So like I said, I bought my first house 2021, like right when COVID was just getting going.
Yeah,
But I was essential worker, so I was getting paid still.
cool.
So I used, well, what really got it going, I'm gonna be honest with you. I was doing music at first.
Yeah.
I went to school for audio engineering.
Okay.
But my wife was ready. She's like 5 years older than me.
Okay.
So she was ready to, settle down, get a house, backyard, the whole nine. So, and I'm like running, doing studio sessions to like 3, 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
So we had like a long conversation, and I had to make a decision to provide versus, what made me like, what brought joy in a sense of creativeness. I had to kind of turn that into something that can help my family
Yeah.
more, which was getting our first property. So
Yeah.
I researched the VA loan. I got no down payment. Interest rates was super low because COVID.
Yeah.
So really, if you had job history when everybody was quitting, you was able
Yeah.
to get a job, right? So I mean, a crib.
Yeah.
So yeah, I bought a house 2021, and then I realized that the realtor didn't really do much, but he made
Yeah.
like 8 to 10 bands.
Yeah.
So I was like, hold on, all you did was walk around the home and sign some papers, and you got paid that much. And so I'm like, okay, let me try this out.
Yeah.
So while I was literally working the semiconductor, I was taking classes online at
Cool.
night. And then like maybe it took me a while, like 6 months, because like I was learning part time. But like 6 months into it, I want to say I took like a 2 week leave, and then
Okay.
cramp, took the test, passed. And then once you pass, now you're getting emails. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
what broker do you want to be? People want you to be on a broker, because the more money you make, the more money they make. And you can't actually be a realtor without having a broker.
Right.
And you got to be a realtor for at least 3 years to become your own broker. So eventually I got introduced to EXP through them, just kept calling me. So I joined their broker, and then like 3 months later, I'm still working the job. 3 months later, I hadn't sold nothing, but I was having all like interactions via Zoom.
Okay.
So I needed like hands-on, person to person help. So I got introduced to this lady. Her name is Christine. and she was a part of another broker. And now I'm not going to say the brokers, but she was a part of another broker, and she basically told me she showed me what it feels like to be a part of a team,
Cool.
and I liked it that. So
Cool.
I joined her team. I sold a house like the first month, and then I quit my job. And here we go.
Wow. That's wild. And so it's kind of funny you mentioned like, just to walk around the house and sign a few papers. When you're taking this course, like obviously there's more to it than that, but how
Oh,
was
way
it
more.
like, wow, was this is still relatively simple, or was it like, wow, I had no idea what I was getting into. This is really difficult but joyful. Like what was the transition like getting into actually doing real estate?
So so that's the reason why I'm starting. Why I started my Instagram, and right
Yeah.
now, if you go to my YouTube, I have to put in the links or something.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah. We'll put it
giving
all in the
like,
description. Yeah.
yeah, really on my Instagram, because I'm revamping my YouTube, my
Cool.
socials to be more like niche based.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, taking the test, going through the classes were super hard. Like
Yeah.
it was different. Like you got to know everything, man. You have to know about water laws, the difference between an ocean, a river, how close you are. Can you build in that area so you can get actual water? Then they got laws, and then like our fiduciary duties is obedience, loyalty, disclosure, confidentiality, accountability, and reasonable care. So it's just a whole slew of things that you never really use
Yeah.
in the actual real world. The whole
Right.
thing is just to get past the test,
Yeah.
right? They're teaching you all the different types of loans there are. They're teaching you, the different forms that you need to use. They're teaching you verbiage of things, of how to say things or what they mean. So like it's really in depth
Yeah.
to what you're learning when it comes to real estate, but like you got quick deeds, quick sales. There's so many different ways to acquire a property that they teach you, and they load it on you. So you really only can like, I data dump. I'm a good test taker. I
Yeah.
data, I get it, and then I dump it.
Right.
So it was extremely hard, man. The
Yeah.
test I failed it's 180 questions. I
Yeah.
missed the first one by like 3 points. I had to go back and take it. Um, but now I'm learning in the field it's totally different. Like
Yeah.
I have to sometimes I have to be a therapist to my clients. Like
Right.
these one past clients, they were newly married, so like they're going through their stages. Whole time we're trying to buy a home, they're not really, so they're bickering, oh, we want to stay here, I want to stay here. So I'm like, okay, you guys, this is supposed to be a fun moment, this is supposed to be an exciting moment. Let's take all the emotion out and let's get to the numbers. What do you
Yeah.
qualify for? What do you at this point, and does that line up with what you want, right?
Yeah.
If it doesn't, then let's go back to the drawing board, or let's create some boundaries, or set expectations. So it's so many things that you're dealing with people. So communication is like the number one thing that I'm learning to be better at. Um, so yeah, long story short, it's extremely harder than what I thought,
Yeah.
but I'm learning that I can be myself
Yeah.
versus me working a job where I have to be this thing.
Right.
I'm an IT, all I work on is computer stuff,
Yeah. Yeah.
and don't come to me unless it's that, versus this is my business. I can tour luxury apartments. I can tour luxury buildings. I can get into investing.
Yeah.
I can do podcasts all day, and this is my job.
Right.
So it's really, that's what excites me about it. Like you can make it what you want. And me being a creator at heart, it allows me to still utilize my creativities, and versus what I was doing with music, now I can do it here. Like, so so yeah, man. Long story. It sucks, but it's good because it gives me a place where I can be the highest level of my ability, which is
Yeah, and you get
creativeness
to
and
come
communication.
alongside and coach people and walk them through a big transition, and that's
Yeah, bro.
that's
It's
pretty
it's
cool.
amazing, man. And to speak on that, it's like it's God. It's a blessing. Really, because when you think about it, you're doing God's work. You're helping provide people somewhere to stay. So
That's
that was
cool.
another thing for me too. And creating a legacy. I
Yeah.
can't show my daughter how to work for another person for the
Yeah.
rest of their life, right? So showing her now, she sees me. I'm in suits. I had to teach her how to shake hand, how to
Yeah.
introduce yourself, eye contact. Um, so there's so many things I can show her now. Like I'm doing mansion tours. So if I bring her along with me, she sees, oh, it's bigger. Like there's levels to this, right? And
Yeah.
she actually started to do she's selling lemonade now. So uh,
Cool. She's already got her business.
yeah, so she got her little profits, and I'm like, all right, so we gonna buy some more product. I mean, you got to buy some more lemonade. You got to buy
Yeah.
some more sugar. You got to get your inventory up. So it really shows her a different way of looking into how to create wealth. So yeah,
That's awesome. I think the younger you can do that, I mean, getting on that side of the equation where you're not just always the consumer and hitting you up for money, but learning how to make her own money, that's a skill. The earlier you can learn it, the better. And it's cool that she can have her own. I mean, I don't know if she's on this track or even wants to, but the fact that young kids can go and they can start their own business and do their own thing, like before you could even get a job at McDonald's,
yeah.
but you can go and start your own company and you're learning all aspects of customer service and budgeting and planning and all this stuff. That's pretty cool that you get to walk her into that.
Oh
That's
yeah, man.
awesome.
We got a little studio set up in my garage. Her desk right next to me. So we knocking it out. It's a beautiful thing, man.
I love it. And I saw a post, I don't know if this was specific, but do you work with a lot of like being a veteran, is that a specific group of people you work with a lot or you have a special heart for? Because I do remember it might have been Veterans Day when I saw something you posted on it, but um,
Yeah, yeah, man. I'm glad you actually saw that. That's my best video so far. It's almost at
cool,
like 1,500 views
cool.
on Insta, so it's fire. But yeah, that's when I can relate because when I got the military, I could have bought a home as soon as I got out, right? But
Yeah,
I didn't know my benefits. I didn't know what I qualified for. I didn't know the steps to take. So I feel like it's my obligation to help people like me or that serve their country in general. Like if you
yeah,
serve for at all, you should not be out here working at Burger King or
yeah.
not being able to live the life that perceive yourself being. And
Right,
that's what they teach you in the military anyways. Like so when you go from the military to civilian world, like even the fact that I call it civilian world is something that they teach you. Like they
right.
separate the two. So it's
Yeah,
hard to transition when you're getting out. You're like, wait, I'm no longer in charge of nobody. People are, you know what I'm
yeah,
saying? I'm no longer like I no longer have commands. I have like agendas now. Like, you know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Versus us waking up, putting the same shoes on, tying the same laces, shining your shoes. Like everything from getting dressed to the mission is
yeah,
detailed, right? So getting out the military and then getting into an environment where things are just lackadaisical, you could do whatever you want and you're still gonna get a paycheck, it kind of messes you up, right? It puts you in the
right.
zone of what should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? So I wanted to be able to show veterans how to jump into the real estate business, utilizing their VA benefits. Because you can
Cool.
get out and immediately become an investor if you
Yeah,
know the right steps, right? So it's a special place in my heart for people like that because I was a military veteran
yeah,
and I deployed. I know what
yeah.
it feels like to not be to talk to your family and not know what can happen next. Like you're in the middle of
Right.
the ocean. They tell you if you're in Persian Gulf, but it ain't no signs in the ocean.
Yeah.
Like it's no street signs. Like you don't
Right.
know really where you're at until you're there.
Yeah.
You
That's
know what I'm
wild,
saying?
man.
So
Yeah.
me going through that, I wanted to be able to help my people, the best
Yeah.
I could, get in predicaments that can help them stay militant versus
Cool.
jumping into civilian world and you see a lot of homeless veterans. Like it doesn't make any sense, man. That
Yeah.
make no sense. So I got a
That's
special heart for it and I'm about to become veteran. I'm about to become what is it? Military relocation specialist. It's a
cool.
certificate you can get. But yeah, man, that's my specialty because I know I've done it. I
Yeah,
know everything about it. So and then I can communicate with a veteran better because we relate on so many different levels. So yeah.
that's serving a big need. That's awesome. So you and I connected at Offer Mastery Live in Tampa with Myron Golden. And what's funny, I was thinking about, I was like, I don't know if we actually met or if we just got connected in that group,
We
but
we sat next to each other like two seats down. And you did
that's what it
something. I don't know
was.
if it was you, but somebody put in like the Bluetooth and you sent like notes or something to
Oh yeah, that
everybody.
was me. That was me.
I was like, man, this guy is fucking genius. I'm sorry for cursing.
I
I'm
was
like, this kid was smart, bro. Now every time I'm in a big group of people, I think about
yeah,
it. I'm like, shit, I should just post something right now and just Bluetooth everybody. Well, I'm
dude.
like, but then you like, and then I'm like, I don't know. I'm in the building with like millionaires, and they might be like, pissy about it. But when you did it, bro, I was like, okay, yeah, I gotta make sure I keep in contact with this guy because
It
that was
was.
out of the box thinking, man. That was
I
good. That
appreciate.
was
Well, I
good.
learned it because what hit me was, and for anybody listening, I when I go somewhere and I listen to something, I know I want to remember it. I got my Bluetooth keyboard and I take notes on my phone. And but it hit me. I've been to all these conferences. I go to a weekly breakfast. I go to all these things where I'm just taking in all this great information. And I remember sometimes I'll go home. My wife would be like, "Oh, cool. What'd you learn?" And I'm like, "It was really
Uh,
good." I'm like,
yeah,
"Cool.
yeah,
What was
because
good
it's
about?"
so much. It's so
Yeah,
much.
it's
Yeah.
too much to take in, and so I started taking these notes, and I can type fast enough where I can pretty much keep up. And so taking those notes for me to be able to go back and relook at and study or even pull something out of what I did has become huge, and it was cool because it helped me to connect with people there. But my question is, how did you get even connected to go to that? How did you get connected to Myron? Why'd you sign up? Like, how did you even get into going to this conference?
Well, as we both know, Myron is great at getting you in his loop and
Yeah,
staying there. So I started watching Myron maybe about a year ago.
yeah,
And it was a mixture of things. I was trying to restructure my life.
yeah.
I was listening to David Goggins, Myron Golden, and Eric Thomas. Those were my
Yeah.
three top dudes.
Cool.
David Goggins is a spec op guy. He's special
Okay.
forces. And he got out. He's like motivational speaker. Eric Thomas is like a motivational pastor. But
Yeah.
Myron Golden is he taught through the Bible,
Yeah.
utilizing Solomon. And at that time in my life, I was reading. I was like, okay, I'm gonna read the Bible. I
Yeah.
was at Genesis. I was like at Exodus at this point, and he was talking about Solomon, and I'm like, man, if you can just tell me how you did everything,
Yeah.
that would be great. So I just kept watching him, kept watching him, kept watching him. And then one time he said, this is going to be the last time you're going to see me in person on the stage or something like that.
Yeah. 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 I
I
remember.
can't remember what it was. Maybe you remember, but he said something into the area of if this is your last time
Yeah.
to come see me in this setting. So I said, well, shit, I wasn't ready, but I had to get ready
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, what I do, I don't even know what I did. I think I took a loan, got a credit card or something.
Yeah.
And I went out there, man, and it was a great experience for me. And it was my first mastermind,
Yeah.
so it led me to go to the podcast summit, right?
Cool.
So that's why it was where I was supposed to be. God
Yeah.
put me where I was supposed to be, man, because
That's cool.
now I'm reading more books and stuff. So long story short, to answer your question, I found him on YouTube about a year
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
And then I came to the function or the mastermind because he said it was the last time we was gonna be able to
Yeah.
come. So I said, let me go ahead and get out there, man.
That's
Yeah.
that's awesome. That was me too. I was like, I was listening to him and a couple other guys, and you get invited to these things, and I was like, nah, maybe another time, maybe another time. And he's like, this is it. And being in Florida, I was like, it's right here. Like this is, kind of now or never. But I couldn't believe how much I learned. I mean, it was 9 to 5, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and besides lunch, like there was no breaks. Like it was just like if you wanted to go to the bathroom, you had to get up and miss something. And coming from a world where people are trying to, usually go to meetings late and leave early and kind of be half engaged to a place where there's 1,000 people in the room locked in who all paid to be there and they're all so focused and taking in everything. It was a powerful experience just to be part of something like that. And so I mean, I was just blown away. But did you walk away from there with like this is something like that's going to change my life? Like, was there anything that you learned that stands out to you coming back to the conference with Myron, or anything that you were like, this is an action step that I'm going to change moving forward after going to this conference?
So if you follow Myron, he basically said the same thing at the conference, but just in more depth.
Yeah.
But what I really gained from it is kind of like what you said, the atmosphere. Putting
Yeah.
yourself in the right atmosphere can change a lot for you. Like, it pushes you, it makes you want to learn more, it makes you want to read more, it makes you want to like be engaged, and it keeps you in that upbeat go-getter mode.
Yeah.
So that's really what I got from that, was the connections such as yourself, as well as like even like one of the guys that I met at Myron Golden thing. We were talking and everything, and he's like, "You going to Podcast Summit?" So like we both met up there, got a few drinks, and we did an interview. So it just showed me that being in these rooms
Yeah.
allows me to like almost fall into success, like because
Yeah.
everybody's doing something. So it's
Right.
like you can accidentally meet somebody and then be good.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Versus back here, back home, like you gotta really be in the right, because other than that, people are working 8 to 5s.
Right.
That typical person is not doing what 10% of the building was doing at that spot, right? At the
Yeah.
mastermind.
Yeah.
So being in that room with all those motivated entrepreneurs, it gave me no excuse when I got home. There's
Yeah.
no reason why I shouldn't be, going harder than this. And of course,
It's,
everything I learned from Myron Golden's thing, I got a whole notepad of all types of stuff I learned from Myron. But what always sticks with me from Myron is the 4 levels of success.
yeah.
The what is it? The imaginary, communication, unification, and implementation.
Yeah.
Implementation being the lowest one, imagination meaning being the highest level. And I'm like, man, I'm always imagining things.
Yeah.
Like I got a big imagination. Like, I love to create new things and stuff like that. So I'm like, man, my mind wants to be there, but I have
Yeah.
to put everything in line so that when I do imagine it, I can implement it
Yeah.
on a larger scale, right? So that's what's been sticking with me from
Cool.
Myron. And then like now I think he's separating his YouTube for more of a Christian base, or Bible versus business.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So I took a lot from it, but the main thing I took is atmosphere and the
Yeah.
drive to do more.
I noticed
Yeah.
that too, man. If you get yourself around people that are taking, one of the things he said is action takers are money makers, and you see
Oh
people
yeah.
making moves, and it's like you come back to your world, and it's like people take forever to make any changes, and you see people that are, hey, I'm making a step right now, knowing that I might fail. But even if I do, I'm gonna fall up. Like I'm gonna grow in that failure. I think earlier in my life, I was very much like, oh, if I fail, it's gonna be embarrassing, and I'm gonna be worse because of it. And just learning,
Yes.
like, you take steps, you fall, you scrape yourself, and you grow, and you're better. And kind of having the confidence and the willingness to say, all right, I'm gonna try. And the people around you that you're putting yourself in that environment are just constantly pushing you to be better. It's inevitable when you put yourself around those people, like you said, you're gonna
Exactly.
succeed.
Yeah,
So
man. You have no choice to.
yeah.
Otherwise, I don't even know. Like, I don't know how you can go to something like that and not be motivated to,
Yeah.
even if it's simple as, getting a better relationship with your family or whatever you're going for,
Yeah.
you're gonna be able to get it from that. And so now I'm gonna go I'm at least going to 1 or 2 masterminds every year,
Cool.
man. I like them.
Cool.
I'm sold now.
So when you were there, because I remember David Shands spoke while we were there, like he was on stage, he was connecting with Myron, and then I remember getting the invite to Podcast Summit too, and I couldn't go, and I was like, oh, I really want to go. So
Yeah.
you got the invite, you went, and was it Brandon you're talking about that you connected with while you
Oh
were
yeah, yeah,
there?
yeah. Brandon,
Yeah,
Brandon.
cool,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
So I missed the Podcast Summit. So what I missed, how was it? What are some takeaways?
Yeah. So I'll tell you all the people you need to look up.
All right,
Neo Davis, he's a millionaire. He was there. Marcus Zoria or something like that. I can't remember the last name. He was there. Omar
cool.
was there. Um,
I know Omar. I've listened to Omar. Yeah, cool.
Omar was there. Who else was there? B. Simone was there.
Okay,
Um, it's just it was a lot of people utilizing social media to make money.
cool.
So I took all types of notes. The lights you need to get, the microphone you need to get, the editing softwares you need, how to get sponsored. David Shands goes into his pitch.
Yeah,
And basically, like when you meet people, you say, I help blank do blank by doing this.
yeah,
So that's his spiel. Like, I help veterans enter the real estate business by teaching them their VA loan and also helping them on the realtor portion of
yeah,
becoming, acquiring your
yeah.
property. So like stuff like that. Daniel Priestley was there. He went
Cool.
over the Score app. It's David. It's David. Aren't no, it's Daniel. It's Daniel. Daniel Priestley was
Daniel
there.
Priestley. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
Nahemia Davis, Neo Davis, he was there.
Okay,
Um, Aeropostale, I don't know if he was there or not, but he had interviewed with David Shands, and he
okay.
actually bought like a $3.5 million property out there.
Wow.
Um, Donnie Wiggins was there.
Okay.
So a lot of celebrities, a lot of people that use a lot of social media. So that was very, it was very interesting and
Cool.
very like it was a different feeling because normally you go into like maybe a music event where you see a
Yeah,
celebrity, but I'm seeing like actual like undercover celebrities. Like some you might not know about Donnie Wiggins, but she makes $1 million
yeah,
yearly on YouTube. So in my
yeah,
mind,
yeah.
she's like a YouTube celebrity, right? So it's like you're seeing all these people and then you're actually being able to shake their hands. You're actually
That's
being able
cool.
to talk to them, ask them questions. So
Yeah,
I got a lot from that. But once again, the main thing I got from that is my connections. Now,
yeah.
me, Brandon, and two other guys are in a group and we're
Cool.
coming up with a course. We're coming up with all types of different things that we can implement through the knowledge that we've gained via
Yeah.
Podcast Summit and Myron Golden's Mastermind. So meeting
Awesome.
those guys, I met I met like 3, 4 investors. So that helps me as a realtor. Like I'm shooting them
Cool.
investment properties.
Yeah.
Um, I met other realtors. I met so many other people that are going to help benefit me and benefit them. So it was very engaging and it was
Yeah.
very it was a success. It was a successful trip for me.
Did
I'm
you
from the East
have?
Coast, so I wanted to go back anyways.
Oh yeah, that's close to North Carolina. That's cool.
Yeah.
Did did you have in mind before going there, like, hey, I'm thinking of starting a podcast, or hey, I like a podcast is near in the future? Like, was that on your mind when you went, or did you
So
already
I
have
had a
plans?
podcast idea like last year. I wanted to
Yep.
call it Boss Dads,
Yep.
where we
Cool.
basically and I'm going to interview you for sure. I have to send you an invite,
Awesome.
but
Let's do it.
so basically, we're centered around helping dads be better entrepreneurs, fathers, and men
Cool.
in general, right? So it's just a talk show. I'm learning that podcast is a podcast, but really, I'm creating a talk show, like a
Right.
channel. So when you come to the channel, you're going to see podcasts, but you're also going to see events. We're going to do
Cool.
community events, stuff like that. So I had that idea a year ago and I try to get one of my buddies on board, but they're a little slow. Like you said, people are slow to do things.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I gotta do it. So I went to Podcast Summit, and they taught me everything I needed to know. So now
Cool.
I'm just really, I've already shot my first video, and I think I told you about that like in the beginning of
Yeah.
this one. But so yeah, I'm working on my home setup. This is my little home setup now. I got a little light on. So it
Cool.
looks kind of good, but I still want a bigger light, and I'm using my
Yeah.
iPhone, and I want to get a podcast microphone as
Cool.
well. Um, but yeah, man, I had the idea, but I didn't know how to get going. So the
Yeah.
podcast summit kind of put me in perspective of not being afraid to stumble, but also
Right.
stumbling with some knowledge.
Yeah.
Okay. If I stumble, like I'm going to be stumbling using the right apps, using the right, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
about to just be, picking my fingers or luck of the draw. Like I'm making educated decisions based on the
Yeah.
knowledge that I'm gaining from these podcasts, from the podcast summit.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then like I said, bro, the community, the connections, man, the connections, brother, is crazy. Like I've met so many people in the last 3 to 4 months. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
That's a good perspective, man. So when you go to that and you're like, all right, I've got a podcast in mind, I've got an idea, I've had it for a year. This gave me some action steps. But I imagine like for me when I go to something like that, on one hand it's like, all right, here's all the action steps, here's what you need to do, go do it. But on the other hand, it's like, here's all the equipment, here's all the XYZ. Like, do you walk out of there feeling like, all right, I'm ready? Or do you walk out of there feeling like, oh, I didn't realize I need to get this, like this, and this? Like, do you feel like it makes the process faster, or does it kind of give you, oh, now I've got so much to think about? I'm kind of feel more stuck.
Um, so me going into it, I knew that like I used to do music, so I've
Yeah.
I've seen video sets.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, and then I know quality. I'm like, I want my videos to look like Omar's.
Right.
So whatever Omar says, that's what I'm gonna do, right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't like it made it easier, but it made me a to-do list. It
Cool.
made my to-do list and my inventory better. It's more
Yeah.
dialed in now. I know what mic to get. I know what camera to get. I know what lighting to get. So it helped me in that sense.
Yeah.
It made, and I don't think it didn't really affect me negatively at all. It actually gave me more clarity on what I would on my thought process because I had two podcast ideas, and so it gave me more clarity on how to kind of combine them, but at the
Yeah.
same time have them their own. But that's why I call them channels. It's a YouTube channel for me because it's going to have not just a podcast about boss dads, but I might talk about investing. Or I might
Cool.
show you one of my investment properties. And then I'll flag you over to my YouTube with my real estate mansion tours.
Yeah.
So it really showed me organization, and then it gave me people that I can copy. I mean, that's just
Cool.
what it is. It ain't
Yeah.
no point of me building the wheel or whatever. What's that saying? Don't
Never
reinvent the
reinvent the
wheel.
wheel. Yeah.
Yeah, like so I'm just copying, man. That's why I said I'm gonna steal this from you. I'm gonna try this podcast thing. But like you said,
Cool.
I think I want to do the in-person ones because I think
Yeah.
those are a little better. But
Yeah.
so yeah, I learned a lot, man. It didn't set me back at all.
Awesome.
It pushed me to, get the right things aligned, but it also put me in perspective. Like, okay, I don't have to pay $1,000 to
Yeah.
get a new mic, new all this thing. Like I can
Right.
literally just have the light that I have right now on my iPhone, and I can get going. Right?
Yeah.
It gave me that confidence because these people that making million now, they're telling me go ahead. You know,
Right.
so for me, sometimes I need that, man. I
Yeah.
have self motivation, but I don't know when I see other people and they motivate you, it's like, okay, cool, I can do this. As soon as I got home, I started doing videos, bro. And
Cool.
then yeah, man. So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. I had some.
I'm
I
a
can't
talker,
remember
bro.
where I
You
heard
gotta
it.
cut me off.
Oh, you're good, man. I heard it. I can't remember who said it, but when we think about all the equipment and the mics and all that, and somebody was like, "Man, in your pocket, on your phone, you have like higher quality equipment than movie makers did 20, 25 years ago."
Oh yeah, oh
Like
yeah,
your
oh
camera and
yeah,
your mic is
oh
better
yeah.
than they had. And it's like, we're so like, oh, I need to have this mic and then I'll start. Like, yeah, mics help and cameras help, but it's like, it's kind of that like point one difference, right? Like you're going to set yourself apart from the people at your competition. But when you're starting at like zero, like just going from 0 to 0.9 is a bigger jump than going from a good mic to a great mic. Like going from no mic to a mic
Yeah,
is is a jump. And then once you get there, it's like, okay, your first few, like nobody really watches. So that's where you make your mistakes. And then you kind of
Right,
start
right,
to
right.
build from there. So, but we get in our
And
head, man. It's so easy to just get like, oh, everything's got to be perfect. And
right.
I found like I've done very little editing just because I'm like, when I'm watching something, I prefer the authenticity, than like, a robotic, like, oh, everything's perfect. But, I prefer to watch somebody being real,
Yeah.
than some cut up version of this is just the highlight reel. So
Facts, facts. No, for sure. And what came to mind as you were talking was Myron's, analogy to Solomon having 1,000, what is it, proverbs or something,
yeah, yeah,
before he was even before the queen and everybody started to come getting knowledge from him. Myron's like, well, have you did 1,000 content? Have you did 1,000 posts?
yeah,
If you haven't, then you're not there yet. So it's
right,
like, so I'm like, to quicker to get to 1,000 is starting now. If
yeah,
I got a what is it, tripod, or them
yeah,
little, back in the day we used to have the little computer video cameras that just
yeah,
was the little short small ones. Just getting going on my 1,000 is where I was like, okay, cool, I got to do this, right? And then the more you do it, the better you get. Like the first time I
it,
talked on the to my phone, like I'm talking to my phone. The first time I did that, bro, I was stopping, I was recording, I was stopping, I messed up. Let me stop, let me start over. And
yeah,
then I'm like, wait a minute, I could just shoot and start over right now and just edit later.
right,
Like I could
yeah,
cut out that part later. So I'm like, now I'm easy. Now I'm able to just talk, just talk, just talk, just talk, and whatever you want to cut, you can cut. And it makes you more comfortable to talk to a camera. Like I
yeah,
don't know if I'm different from any other people that you interview, but I hope that I'm articulating myself a little better than the average person that's talking
right,
on to a computer, to a
yeah,
phone, right? Because
yeah,
I've been doing this.
right,
I see this my same setup that I do when I do my own videos.
yeah,
And that's like this suit jacket stays on this chair. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like I
yeah,
got two other suit jackets that I throw on. So like I'm trying to create that normal consistency basically.
yeah. Get the reps in. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. All right. Well, one more question for you. What if you could go back to your old, like 10 years ago self, and you could give that self advice based on like what you know now about life, about being a husband, about being a dad, about real estate, about creating content, what would you go back and tell yourself 10 years ago as far as advice or what you would do differently or better or earlier?
Um I'm gonna just say what came to mind as you asked the question, and it's really trust yourself, man. I still have an issue with that now. I'm always like, "What do you think I should do? What do you think I should do? What do you think about this? Or what do you think about this?" And if you just trust yourself, normally you're making the right decision. And it's better to fall on your cause versus listen to somebody else and falling. And now you feel like, damn, did he lie to me? Did he do this on purpose? Or did they, you know what I'm saying? So, follow yourself, stay prayed up, and don't worry about the next man. And, just because there's so many things that I would have accomplished ahead of time if I just did what I wanted to do or
Yeah.
what I thought was best for me, right? So that's would be my advice. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Cool.
like I thought of Boss Dads a year ago. I
Yeah.
would have already had 100 videos to
Right.
my 1,000,
Yeah.
other than me. Hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Or,
Like asking for, well, I think we do that. We ask for permission. It's like we need the world's permission to start our
yeah,
thing. It's
man,
like,
that's not it. That is not the wave. That is
yeah,
whack. It's a follower mentality. So yeah, brother. If I could
yeah.
change anything, I would follow my instincts more.
That's cool. I think we also have, I know I've had to get over this almost like false humility of like, oh, I don't want to be, constantly on the screen or on the mic or the one talking.
Yeah,
It's like, okay, there's something about that that's okay. Like you should not always be the center of attention, but at the same time, like all the people that have influenced me positively, whether they're online or pastors or they wrote a book or whatever, like I think about all the best books I've read, all the best sermons I've listened to, all the best, and I'm like, I'm glad that person wrote that book. I'm
yeah,
glad that person created that YouTube, whatever that thing is that's influenced me. Like, I'm glad they weren't like in the room, like, I really don't want to just put my name
yeah,
out there and make it
yeah,
all about me. Like,
yeah,
I'm glad they shared their story, and that
yeah.
inspires me to be like, somebody might benefit from what you and I are sharing. and let's get it out there. And it could really benefit somebody. So we're not trying to be these selfish people that's like, oh, let me glorify ourselves. Like, yes, we
Right.
want to provide for our family, and that's right. And we also want to do good in the world. And so we got to share what gifts we have. Um,
Right. For
so
sure. It's like a memory. And on top of that, like, not even on top, but including what you're saying,
yeah,
like, that's, yeah, bro. Like, it's so many videos that I've watched. If they never did it, I wouldn't even know. We probably wouldn't even be talking right now.
right.
Um,
Yeah.
but, um, but I definitely say, it's like for my daughter. When I'm gone and away, she'll be able to go to YouTube. Hopefully, YouTube is still around, whatever it is,
Yeah.
and she can see her pops from start to finish, right?
Yeah.
So it's really like a photo album, almost a
Yeah.
video album of you and and what you're going through. So it's like even now, my daughter's they, I don't. Yours is 4. I don't know if you have a older, but
Just one. Yeah.
she's starting to be at school with her friends, and like her friend, she went to her house. Her house is bigger than my house. so,
The
so
comparison
she
game
comes.
starts.
She comes back. She said, "Dad, why don't you have a Tesla? Why don't you have a mansion?" And then she says, "But I showed them your video. I told them my dad was a realtor and he's on YouTube." So it gives me a sense of like kind of like a pride or proud. Okay, at least she can say I'm doing something,
Yeah.
like so. Yeah, man. So it's just a lot. It's just a lot, and becoming a man that I am becoming, it helps in so many different ways. So,
That's cool. Well, appreciate you, man. How can people like I'll put all the links in the description, but how do people connect with you if they want to reach out or if they want to buy a house from you or how do people connect with you?
um, you can find me on Instagram at Jarvis
Cool.
the Realtor, JARV as in Victor, IS the Realtor.
Cool.
On YouTube, you can type the same thing, Jarvis the Realtor or Jarvis Witherspoon, Witherspoon. Or you can go through Fred, man. Go through Fred. You
Cool.
call him, he get in contact with me, and that's how
That's
we can
it.
do it. Cause
Awesome.
I believe in helping each other, man. If I can help you by throwing you a referral or whatever the case may be,
Cool.
then let's help each other. So contact
Awesome.
Fred, or you can call me if or you can get on one of my socials. But if you type in Jarvis Witherspoon in Google, you're gonna find me. Like
Awesome.
that's why I'm glad I got so many videos out now. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, brother, I appreciate the time. Thanks for jumping on. Thanks for sharing your wisdom and your knowledge. And let's do this again. And when you get going, man, sign me up.
Oh yeah, yeah, I got you. I got you,
Awesome.
Fred. Thank you, man. We
Awesome.
went an hour. We went a good hour. That's good.
That's it, man. It was smooth. That was fun. I had a good time. So I appreciate you, brother. Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Have a great day.